So yeah, what I have learned on my travel to time and academic space in the Matrix. The fun fact is that the first time the title was what I have learned on my trip to time and academic space in the Matrix. But I was thinking, maybe I should keep the expectations of the audience within something related with the topic. And then is when I changed trip by travel. Because that's why my experience with programming has been. A travel between fears and joys, a travel between anxiety and exciting moments. A travel where I have seen and learned a lot of important things about programming that made me realize, like, this is something everyone should know that it's possible to learn. By the time when my travel started, and where I come from, it was halfway of my bachelor's. By that time, and the first time I learned about something programming, it was a thing for, the hard scientists. It was something mystic around there. And it was a thing that it was taught only at the university level for some specific programs, and of course, accessible only for people in those fields. It was maybe because of that, or it was maybe because of the lack of general information about it, that I didn't mind to learn about it by that time. However, when I knew what I wanted to do after my bachelor's, I needed to go back to that thing that I didn't mind to learn, or at least to give it a try. During my master's, programming was at the core of the program, but it was not a requirement. So I assumed they were just assumed that everyone knew how to program, and that was not the case, and not only for me. Before starting involved in the programming world, during the master, I needed to learn a lot of theories, models, algorithms, artificial intelligence, maths, even before understanding what programming was. And the idea of all these things was supposed to make learning programming easier, but, well, that was not the case. If something, it made everything a little bit more complicated, because, for instance, sometimes I needed to work in an assignment, right? And then in different programming languages. So in one programming language, I needed to open the console, but then in the other program language, I needed to download some libraries. And when I needed to look for, or was looking for information or tips how to solve my assignment, in one programming language, the solution or the ideas were just 2 lines. But in the other, it was 20 lines. And there was nothing in common between them that will allow me to implement all the algorithms, the mathematics, the models, the theories that could help me to solve my assignment. And that was halfway of my master. So you can imagine how I felt the other half. That was not because of the master, but that's how I felt during the halfway, and that's how I felt at the beginning of my travel in the world of programming. And of course, the frustration started to show up, and I was wondering why. Why should a psychologist hoping to become a neuroscientist need to go through all of this? Okay, to complete the assignment, right? But then it took me a while, and in this process, I started to realize that programming is something really valuable, useful, and important for us, for society. And it became an important part of my academic world, to the point that I'm teaching a course in programming at the university. So today, I want to share with you the then part, but also to share a little bit the why. Why everyone should learn programming, or at least give it a try. And who knows, maybe after today you start to explore some options out there and enroll in a programming course, hopefully. Anyway, so going back to my trouble, it was maybe because the different stops that I have had on it, that I started to realize that programming, as with mathematics, is something very important for everyone. It's something that we all might need in the near future. But I also start to realize that you don't have to suffer. Programming can be something interesting, can be something fun, can be something productive. I know it's not only because I think so. It comes from the joy, the happiness, the excitement that I have seen from kids to adults, bachelor students, master, PhD students, even my colleagues. The joy and the excitement that we experience when the code works and the things roll. So traveling implies some things. And one of the things is that you might learn new things. One of the first things that I learned on my travel was that, and helped me to deal with all the things about programming, was to understand that programming is just a language. It's a vocabulary, it's a set of grammatical rules that you need to provide the computer to do whatever you want it to do, right? So, considering that most of you already speak 2, 3, 4 languages, right? Why not to learn a new one that might help you to, first, make better use of computers, and second, to help you to do all these boring and long tasks that you want to do, you don't want to do, but you have to do. So, language was one of the first things that I learned about that. And when you learn a new language, you start to discover a new thing, or all the things behind this new world, right? So one of the first things that I learned, or I remember I start to see about this new world, is that it helps you to understand what's going on there. But it also helps you as well to understand your own world. So you start to see the things that you deal on daily basis from a different perspectives. You start to realize that programming might help you to improve your cognitive skills, for instance. And neuroscience has shown that learning programming helps you to improve your logical thinking, your analytical thinking, creativity, your mathematical skills, spatial skills, metacognition. It helps you probably with many more things. So every time you learn a new language, you keep your brain healthier, younger. So there is another reason. And going back to the perspectives, when you start to see your own world through the new language in a different way, then you will be able to start to transfer or to make in pieces the different the problems that you have at hand. You will be able to identify the small but fundamental components of these problems. You will be able to split it into different steps in a way that you can ask the computer to do what you want it to do. And when you do that, you will be able to transfer something very complex and very abstract into something readable and understandable, something that will be easier for you to understand, but also to explain to those around you. With the new language, when you're traveling and you know another language, one of the beautiful things about this is that you get to know new people. And that also goes with the programming. some of the formula, the more the merrier, is a really good one to implement in programming in a way that you can approach people to ask, to provide advice, to work together, to learn together. For instance, it was thanks to the programming component that during my PhD, I have the opportunity of working with psychologists, biologists, medical doctors, mathematicians, physicists, engineers, and not only computer science engineers, with philosophers. Yeah? And in the course that I'm teaching now, there are students from humanities, social sciences, life sciences, business and economics, all working together, all learning together, but not learning only about programming, but also learning how to approach the same problem from different perspectives. Programming will give you just the opportunity of sharing good time with amazing companions. So there is another reason, right? But as I mentioned, when you learn the new language, you also start to learn the no good things about that world. And sadly, with programming, it's the same thing. One of the first things that I realized about programming is that when I started to follow courses, the difference between the number of men and women in the field is a huge gap. Not only that learn, but the accessibility, even the acceptance in the field. So I have to say that in the course that I'm teaching now at the university, more than 60% of the students in the programming course are women, which is fantastic. But it's also true that at the university, in my department, more than 70% of the students are women. So it doesn't reflect what is happening out there, right? And if this big gender difference is happening in the place where we are learning the tools to face the job market, it's not surprising that there is a huge gap, gender difference in the jobs related with programming, and that's something we really need to change. But the more I was involved in the programming world, I started to see both when I was learning or when I was teaching that the underrepresentation of some other groups is also a big challenge that we have in programming. Many times, on the contrary, very few times I have the opportunity of sharing the space with people from the LGBT community plus, for instance, or from different ethnicities or from different socioeconomic backgrounds. It was more or less always the same audience. And that's something we need to change. At this moment, you will say, like, nice story, but what? Wait. The take-home message is programming is something valuable, useful, and it's something that everyone should learn, or at least give it a try. Why? Because it has a lot of cognitive, social benefits. It has benefits for your job, for your career, for society. Who should learn? Everyone should learn, or at least give it a try. It doesn't matter your academic interest. It doesn't matter your plans. Programming. It doesn't matter your age. Programming is something that everyone can learn. And where? Well, that's the easiest part, right? There are a lot of options out there, online courses, on campus. Just check what suits you better, what will work better for you, and start to explore the world of programming. Maybe get enrolled. Programming can be challenging, but it is an investment worth doing. So it's a need for the future. So don't let yourself behind and give it a try. I can tell you that programming will help you to achieve wonderful things, and it's going to help you to make your dreams come true and even nicer, you know. But most importantly, programming will help you, well, will help us to work and to create in a better world for everyone. And that's what we are here today, right? Thank you.